All right, so today we're going to be showing you how to install your Tottoms PRO Kit pre-assembled, ready to go with a brake. So when you get your Tottoms PRO Kit, it's going to come with the Tottoms PRO fork, the charged up brushless motor that actually spins the entire motor itself. It uses an outrunner design. You have the custom rim with the brake disc, sprocket already attached. You got your Tottoms brake mount with the hydraulic brake kit. Routes all the way to your drift bar. You get the on-off switch, the throttle cable, the battery bumper, the charged up VESC, which can run up to 75 volt, 100 amp setups. You get all the hardware, zip ties, and of course, your beautiful Amorge battery pack. Now, one of the really cool things about this is a huge innovation for us, mainly because it uses a metal design. It also has crazy amount of range. You get about 20 miles of range, and you can go up to about 30, 35 miles an hour. So really, really nice. As for the tools, they'll all be listed in the description below, but you'll need basic stuff like an Allen key set, whatever set that you'd like to use. You'll need a Sharpie, you'll need some masking tape, a Dremel with a carbide drill bit. You'll need a hot glue gun, a drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit. You'll need some snippers, your Tottoms multi-tool, or your 16 or 17 millimeter wrench based on your axle bolt. And you'll also need the bar end of a jack. To begin assembly, you're going to need to get your cart into a disassembled state like this. If you do need help getting your cart to this point, you can go to our Tottoms 900 watt V1 kit install video. It starts at 48 seconds and it'll show you how to do the entire process. But we're first going to start with this cart. We're going to drill out the on-off switch hole, and we're going to drill out the holes for the through bolt on the steering column. So let's go ahead, going to remove the on-off switch so this is out of our way. We're going to grab some masking tape and we're going to mask around this entire on-off switch to prevent us from scratching the paint. We're going to need to leave a little bit of gap just on the sides, because as you can see, it's kind of like a slotted hole design. So we don't have to drill out the entire thing. We just have to drill out these edges that are kind of keeping the on-off switch from fitting through. So as you can see, it's not working now. So we're going to slightly grind down these sides until it fits perfect. Now we're going to grab our Dremel and we're going to turn it to a medium speed and just kind of get to work. All right, so we are going to do a little test fit, see if this works. And there you go. Fits perfectly. Now that that's done, we can take off all this tape. And now we can move on to cutting out the holes for our battery. All right, so now we are going to grab our battery bumper. We're going to insert the battery bumper right here. You can see you have this little groove. You have this groove right here as well. I'm going to assemble that or put that right there. All right, now we can grab our battery. We're going to carefully slide the battery into its slot. We're going to make sure both the tabs go around the steering column and kind of slowly slide it in. Now, this is definitely going to be the trickiest part. We want to make sure the battery isn't angled in any way. We also don't want to push the battery fully against the steering column, because if we slide it fully through, this through bolt won't be able to go through this part. We need the through bolt to go through the steering column on this side of it. We're going to just slide it just enough so that we have enough gap on both sides. Kind of like to line it up right there. Now we are going to make sure it's perfectly straight, perfectly aligned. Just keep double checking on everything. So you can also use this line right here to see if it's straight or not. So that looks pretty straight. Double check again. Now we can grab our Sharpie and we are going to mark where we're going to drill on this side and on this side. We'll remove the battery. And now here's the next important step. So now we can see how close we are there we can see how close we are here. So come to the other side. So you can see it's slightly off center. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna take some isopropyl alcohol. I'm gonna remove those Sharpie marks and start again. So don't feel like you have to get it right on the first time. If it's not right, just go ahead, line it up again, and make sure it's perfectly straight. All right, so the biggest thing whenever we are looking at where to drill the hole is we need to make sure we have just enough gap on this side so we don't actually cut through the entire steering column itself. You want to make sure that when your drill bit aligns, you still have enough gap on the left side so you don't cut all the way through the metal. We're going to grab our drill bit, put that on the drill, we'll remove this. All right, so we're going to put a shop towel to kind of help with the cleanup when we're done. We're going to take our drill, make sure this thing is on, don't want that bit coming off, and we are going to line up on that hole and just start nice and slow. You don't want the drill bit to jump on you. All right, now we can see we're fully through. You want to make sure on both sides you don't have any edges left. So this is good. Now we're going to go to the other side. Good. Make sure there's no burrs. So now for the cleanup, definitely do not try to use a towel to clean up these shavings. Definitely recommend using compressed air or a vacuum to clean up the shavings. So we're going to do a test fit. We're going to take our through bolt. We're going to try to put it right in. And we can see lines up perfect. Now you can see how close this is to the steering column. So it's really important that you try to keep the spacing very, very similar to how we have it. And all said and done, you should have it lined up just like that. First step to the install process now. We're gonna grab our on-off switch. We're gonna unscrew the nut. You just have to unscrew it over this heat shrink. It's a little challenging to get it over. Eventually it will want to come out. Now we are going to put the on-off switch to do the hole, line it up so it's straight, take the nut, put it right back on through the cables, screw it back over the heat shrink. Now it's kind of hard to tighten this down fully. You can use needle nose pliers, or what'll really keep it locked in, a hot glue gun. So that's where the hot glue gun is going to come into play. Just go underneath and really cake that glue up on there. You can always remove this pretty easily later. Now we're going to grab our ESC bolts from the hardware bag. They're either going to be M5 or M6 depending on the steering column. It really depends on like the year and production date of your cart. This one is M5, so we'll use that. We'll grab our Allen key. Honestly, this makes it so much easier to use this one. We're going to take this. We're going to make sure, very important, that the XT90 connector comes out the left side of the cart. So the side of the cart without the throttle. I like to route these cables behind it first. It makes it easier later. And then we're gonna line it up just enough so it grabs. Then we can stop. We're gonna grab the other one, put it in the other hole, and then we're gonna try to screw it in there. That grabbed. We'll tighten this one down somewhat. Then we'll tighten this down all the way. Good there. Then we'll crank down this one as well. All right, so your cart still may have the stock headset bearings. We upgraded to sealed headset bearings on these, but it's basically gonna work the same way. We're gonna put the bearing right there. If you have the sealed bearings, you have the chamfered edge on the top. If you have the unsealed bearings, then you're gonna have the balls facing towards the steering column. So we're gonna grab that, grab these two parts as well, and we are going to carefully, helps if you have a friend, but I'll show you how to do it on your own. Insert the fork through, and with the sealed bearings, you don't have to worry about crushing the bearing itself. With the stock bearings, you have to be very careful to line this up perfectly so you don't crush those. So we're gonna grab that, we're gonna insert it with the chamfered edge down or the balls facing down on the top. Grab the headset top nut. Thank you. Nobody saw that. And then we're gonna go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, now that that's good, we'll take the washer, put that on, and then take the top nut. Yeah, always put the washer on. It just helps you kind of tighten these two nuts together. That's really what the point of this top nut is to keep this bottom one from coming off. So we're gonna tighten that. Now the trick to tightening down the headset nut to feel smooth, you do not want it too tight, especially with an unsealed headset bearing. What we're gonna do is we are going to put our headset wrench on the bottom one, kind of tighten that up, make sure it feels smooth. We're gonna tighten down the top one on it. And then we're going to take the bottom one and loosen it up against the top one. Now it spins freely without anything catching, and this won't come off because we tighten them against each other. Now let's grab the brake. We're gonna carefully run it through without scratching. And just kind of hang it off the side for now. We will do the brake a little bit later. Now it is going to be time to route all of our cables. As you can see, because you have the pre-assembled version, it's already coming up the proper area. But what we're going to do, we're first going to take the black cable and we're going to route that all the way through. Now this is going to take some effort to try to get all the way through, but you basically want to catch it underneath the ESC and then all the way down here. Now we're going to take one cable at a time, route that through. The first two red cables are going to be easier. The last one is going to be kind of tough, but we'll get there. Route that all the way through. That's good. Now the third cable. So the third cable is going to be, there's a little trick for this, the trick that I use. Basically what I do is I pull out the red cables just a little bit, kind of keep them right there. Then I slide this through as much as I can. And right there, it kind of gets caught. It's hard to really get any further. So what I do is I pull these two cables at the bottom and push this through at the same time. And now I can pull the cable all the way through right here. We can see all three cables have about or all four cables I should say, have about the same length. And now we can finish pushing this yellow cable right through. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to spin the fork all the way. We're actually going to need a little bit more. We don't want any wires to catch. We're going to spin it, make sure we have clearance against this, spin it all the way this way, spin it all the way this way, and it looks like we're good right there. Now we're going to take some of our zip ties included. First going to take this zip tie, we're going to route it around the cable trolley, make sure it goes above the wires, and we're going to catch into this little groove right here. Still make sure your clearance hasn't changed, and we are going to crank that down so it does not come loose. Now we can take the snippers, we can cut this cable off. We're going to take the other zip tie, and what I like to do is I like to zip tie all these cables together as well. Helps them stay in that same position. And I also like to route the zip tie part of it towards the back. There we go. Test. And we're good to go. Now we're going to grab our throttle adapter, insert this into the throttle connector if you want to see right here. Now we can go ahead and start connecting up all the cables. It's going to be kind of challenging to see. Hopefully you can, but you see all these connectors right here. So we're going to start off with the on-off switch connector. That's going to be the very top right connector. Boom. You can hear it like click a little bit. Then we're going to do our hall sensor cable, which is that black cable that runs from the fork. That is going to be connected, I believe, right next to it. Feel that click in. Then we have our throttle cable. That is going to be right here. And boom, that clicked in. And lastly, we have our motor wires. Uncross those, obviously yellow to yellow, green to green, and blue to blue. Now everything is wired up and ready to go, other than obviously the brake. So before we go ahead and fully assemble it, we want to do a little test run. So we're going to grab our battery box. I'll use the bumper too, just so there's somewhere to lay it down on. We're going to place it on the cart carefully. Don't scratch anything. We're going to connect up the cart. Boom, good to go. We're going to push the on-off switch. We can see it lights up red. Not this one. This one doesn't do anything, but this is what you want to push. So lights up red, and then we're going to throttle test. As you can see, it's not doing anything. We actually have to load the tune before we can do anything. We're going to grab our phone, and we are going to download the VESC app. Let me show you what it looks like right here. So we're going to search for, you're going to search for VESC tool. It's going to look like this one right here. After it's downloaded, you're going to open it. Oh, actually, we're going to have to turn on our Bluetooth. Turn on Wi-Fi as well. Now we see the cart's loading up when the cart is on, so we're going to connect to it. We're going to scroll over to motor config after we're connected to it. We're going to hit these three little dots. We're going to load an XML. This is included in the description of the video, the download to the tune. It's going to be named 7070 tune. You're going to click that. You can see configuration loaded, but we have to write it to the VESC so it saves. So hit write, hit OK. We're good to go there. Now we are going to hit the three dots again, and we are going to detect the FOC Hall sensors. So you're going to bring up this page, you're going to hit detect, and then it's going to let you know that the motor will spin slowly. So have the motor in a free spinning position like this. Then tap OK. You're going to see the motor start spinning. This is what you want to see. Yep, just have it elevated. It's going to detect the sensors inside the motor. We can see it just stopped. That's our Hall table, or we know it went through successfully. We're going to apply it. We're going to write it again. Hit OK. We're going to scroll back to the start screen. We're going to set up our input, which is our throttle. It's going to take a second to load. Hit next. It is going to be ADC input. Hit next. Now we are going to push the throttle a few times. You can see this blue line start moving. Now it is normal for it not to go all the way until after you apply and write. And now it'll go all the way. So we're going to hit next. We're going to hit write configuration. Hit next. Now you can see everything is working. Turn the cart off. We can unplug the battery. We'll grab the battery, put that away for now. We'll take our battery bumper, slide it back into its slot, and now we are going to route the cable, the throttle cable specifically, through here. We're going to zip tie some of these cables together. All the other cables, not the red cables, keep those free. Snip that off. And now we can kind of tuck these up and out of the way. Now we can grab our battery box. We're going to slip it in. Be extremely careful not to scratch it on your ESC. You kind of have to like angle it a little bit. Slide it into place. Keep all of these red cables out. Make sure no cables are getting caught on anything. And then we can put the through bolt through. So we're going to take our through bolt. Make sure one washer is on that side. And now we're going to slide it through this hole. Now, it's hard to see. You'll be able to see it on your own cart. But all the cables are still behind the steering column. You don't want those to get caught by this bolt. So you're going to go very slowly. Pay attention. Don't get any wires stuck behind this bolt on the steering column. Find it on the other side. Just kind of screw it through the hole. Get it going all the way through. Take the nut and the washer. Put the washer on first. Put the acorn nut after. Grab a 10mm wrench and then go ahead and tighten that down. Now the battery is firmly attached, not going anywhere. Finally, we can just go ahead and plug that in. It's finally time to assemble our brake kit. Before we go any further, one of the things with the brake is we are going to have to slightly bend the bar up. That is because whenever we actually slide on our brake mount, it kind of touches a little bit right here. It's going to touch a little bit. That's because it gets a little close to the actual frame of the cart when everything's bolted down and connected. Just bending the bar up a little bit will give us a little more clearance. What we're going to do first, we're going to grab some more masking tape. We are going to mask the drift bar so it stays protected. Just use a few strips, then mask it long ways. Then we're going to put one more strip right here to keep this protected as well. So we're going to move the cart down to the ground. And we're going to take the jack bar end. We are going to slide it over the drift bar to give us more leverage when we bend it. We're going to step on the frame and then step right here as well. Yeah, and you're going to kind of bend it up a little bit. And we'll give it one more. Now we can see it sits a little bit higher. Now this is actually really nice. With bending the bar, it actually helps with keeping the bar up at higher angle. It makes it honestly easier to drift. So we do this even without running brakes. We do this on all of our carts. We will take all this off. Slide it back on. Go ahead and do a test fit with the grip as well. So we will put the brake on there, slide the grip on, go ahead and tighten these bolts down. And we can see it's not touching. And we can also shorten the throw on the brake lever. So the bolt for that is going to be right here. Super easy to just take the tool, unscrew, and now we have more than enough clearance. Take this off because we still need to drill holes into the seat to route the actual line through. We are going to go back to our bag of mounting hardware, and as you can see, you'll see 2 cable clamps as well. You'll have some M5 hardware. We're going to grab the proper Allen key, which is going to be a 3mm Allen key. We're going to take one of them. We're going to put the fork straight, slide it over the cable, and we want to give ourselves enough space for the fork to spin freely. And see, we have enough clearance, spinning freely. Make sure the cable clamp's on there. Grab the M5 hardware, insert it through. We're gonna find that hole, kind of get that on there snug. And I always line it up so it's kind of facing a little bit up. Try to get that angle on it. Now the biggest thing is you don't want this line to kink and bend. You want the line to flow freely whenever you're spinning the steering wheel. So just make sure you kind of want this shape coming out of the cable clamp. Every cable is going to be different based on how the cable is bending. So just try to see what works and you should be good to go. Next cable clamp, we're going to put it on again so it's facing down. We'll grab the hardware, stick it through here, and we are going to mount it right to this hole. By the way, this tool is great. If you are wanting to build a cart, I definitely recommend getting one of these screwdrivers from Amazon. Screw into there. This one can be just straight up and down. Crank that down. Make sure that's tight. Make sure everything's good. Do one more test. We can see nothing's kinking. It's good to go. Now, lastly, we are going to have to drill through the seat to route the rest of this brake line. Now, the way I like to do it is I like to route the cable on this line right here because the cable just naturally flows there. So I like to make a mental note to drill through there. And then you can either have the cable coming out the back and around to the drift bar, but I actually like to do it in front of the seat bolt hole because this bolt will lock it into place and keep it and keep the line safe. So I'm going to make 2 holes, one there, but first we're going to have to remove the seat. We're going to drill a hole through there, line it up. I always like to line up kind of like 1/3 of the drill bit off of it, just so you make that little gap underneath. And we can see that we have this little gap right here. And then what I like to go do is just take my Dremel and clean up that hole. And there you go. So that's the first hole. We're gonna go to the second hole. Now that we're at the second hole, we're gonna drill through there too. We're going to take the Dremel. And we can see we have this hole as well. There we go. Grab our bolts. Come back to the cart. First, route the brake. So we will take that line, line it up with that hole we made. We'll take the second line, line it up there. See, both are routed. And now we're gonna lock in some of these bolts. There we go. And just get some of them started. Make sure none of the lines jumped. You can see they're still good. And then go ahead and just tighten all of these bolts down. Now, we can take our brake, slide it back on. And then what we're gonna do, because we have too much line here still, so we're gonna feed some back underneath the seat. While we go down here, we're gonna grab this so we know exactly where to line up our brake. We're gonna put it right behind the grip. What we like to do too is slightly rotate the brake lever so it's a little over to your right side. Makes it a little more comfortable to grab. We're gonna take our 4mm Allen key. We're going to go ahead and tighten this down. Don't tighten one down all the way before the other. Just kind of keep working tighter and tighter on each side. And then you can go ahead, crank these down a little bit. Then we'll go ahead and tighten down our grip. Now we have the brake lever, the brake line attached, and all that's left is our steering wheel. So we'll put the steering wheel in. Now that we have everything assembled, our cart's finally done, finally ready to rip. This is definitely one of my favorite builds. I love the pink and green combo. The pedal, the casters, everything goes so well together. If you guys have any questions, drop a comment below or email support@totems.com. And if you want this cart or any others, check out our website. We hope you have fun. Stay safe ripping.